This will be for the con exercise, creating tables for approximating limits. Okay, given the function g and asked to estimate the limit as x approaches 4 of g of x, 3 students created tables. Each table is accurate, but which one is the best for approximating the limit? Okay, so there's 3 choices. Okay, so we talked about in a previous exercise, when you're finding the limit of x approaching some number like x approaching 4, you have to find the limit from both sides. And what they're doing in these tables is plugging in values for x. Now, they didn't give us the function, but they give us the x and y values when they plug in certain numbers. So if you want to find the limit from both sides, you're plugging in numbers that get closer and closer to 4. All right? So we're going to come from both the negative side and from the positive side. Now, from the negative side, you would plug in something like 3.9 and then get closer and closer to 4, like 3.99 and 3.999. Okay, you're doing this on the calculator or using a spreadsheet program. You're plugging in these values for x. Now, from the positive side, it's something a little greater than 4. So you may start with like 4.1 and then plug in 4.01 and then plug in 4.001. And you want to see if the y value approaches the same y value from each side, from both the positive side and the negative side. So that's all we're doing here. But the idea is to find a limit from both sides. So you're plugging in numbers that are less than 4, and you're plugging in numbers that are greater than 4, and you're progressively getting closer and closer to the number 4. So that's what we're looking for on the table. Okay, if you look at answer A, here's the x value, and the person is getting closer and closer to 4 from the negative side and closer and closer to 4 from the positive side. So this one looks pretty good. Okay, and they gave us the y values. We can see it's approaching negative 4.5, but they didn't ask us that. But A looks legitimate. Answer B, let's see. Here they're getting closer and closer to 4. But this is so far away from 4. This is at negative 4. It should have been at 3.9 something by now. Okay, this side is correct. They're getting closer to 4, but over here they're approaching negative 4. That's no good. And answer C, their x values are getting closer and closer to 4, but it's only one-sided. Okay, they have the values less than 4. They don't have any values greater than 4, so C is no good. Okay, the function f is defined over the real numbers. This table gives several values of f. And is the table appropriate for approximating the limit as x approaches negative 3 for f of x? All right, so we're trying to approach x equals negative 3. Now, if you're approaching x equals negative 3, you're going to have numbers that are less than negative 3, and you're going to have numbers that are greater than negative 3. So in other words, if you're approaching negative 3, you would start at maybe negative 3.1. Well, this is the less than side, negative 3.1, and then you would do negative 3.01, and so on. And on the greater than side, you'd have negative 2.9 and then negative 2.99. And both of these sides are supposed to approach negative 3. Now, is that what they did here? No, they did not. You can see these values heading in, these x values heading in this direction are approaching negative 3. But they don't have any values coming from the other side that are less than negative 3, like negative 3.1 in my example. So this right here, it's only one-sided. They only have the values of x that are greater than negative 3. That's no good. Okay, we're not worried about the values for f of x. So the problem here is that it's only one-sided. All right. The x values only approach negative 3 from one direction. That's it. The increments are constant. That's not it. And the table's not appropriate. Answer B. All right, so these are pretty easy. Here we have x approaches 2. So it has to approach 2 from both sides. Let's take a look. All right, in answer A, the x values here, they do approach 2, okay? But these increments are too large. They make jumps by one integer each time. You're supposed to do it like 2.1 and then 2.01. So this is okay, but the increments are just too large. They make jumps of 1, and that's no good. Answer B, we're approaching 2. Here are the values that are less than 2. Here are the values that are greater than 2. 2 would be right here. So that's perfect. Okay, double check answer C. These values starting from 3, they're getting closer and closer to 2, going this way, but it's only one direction. They don't have the ones less than 2. So B is best. All right, so here's the table. They want us to determine if the table is appropriate for the limit as x approaches negative 5. All right, let's see. Just looking at it, I think it looks good. All right, negative 5 would be here. So on this side, these are the ones that are less than negative 5, and they're getting closer and closer. These are the ones greater than negative 5. They're getting closer and closer. So I say this table is good. Okay, we're not worried about the f of x values. They didn't ask us for the actual limit. They just want to know if they used the right method. So that one's good.